Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the How to Become Certified workshop. This workshop will provide information on who is qualified to be certified as a minority, woman, or disadvantaged business enterprise. Department of Procurement Services is one of the certifying agencies for minority women or disadvantaged business enterprise applications, which you'll hear me refer to as MBE, WBE, DBE quite often. So today you will learn about what documents are needed when submitting an application and how to avoid the most common mistakes in the certification process. My name is Regence Norwoods. I'm a senior certification officer here at DPS. I'm a licensed CPA and have over 18 years experience in the auditing and accounting industry. One of my responsibilities here at DPS is to review new, renew, and ongoing MBE, WBE, DBE, ACDBE applications. So as Millie stated, if you have any questions, please wait till the end of the presentation so we can get you on the microphone. Okay? So let's get started. The Department of Procurement Services, becoming certified with the City of Chicago. Who we are. Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the City of Chicago. We work together as a team and with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. What we do. DPS is committed to providing information, resources, and tools to assist you in your efforts to compete for City of Chicago contracting opportunities. We accept and review new applications for certification, annual no-change affidavits, recertification application every 5 years. What else do we do? What else do we do? We ensure contract compliance with negotiated contractual MWVDBE participation goals. We set standards for contract participation for MWVBE as well as DBE and ACDBE companies. We assist vendors through our websites. The two that we use quite often are the www.cityofchicago.org/procurement and chicago.mwdbe.com website. What do the acronyms mean? These stand for the 6 City of Chicago certification programs. MBE is the minority-owned business enterprise. WBE is the women-owned business enterprise. BEPD is the business enterprises owned by people with disabilities. DBE is the disadvantaged business enterprise. ACDBE is the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. What's coming soon is the veteran-owned business enterprise program. So the MBE, WBE, and the BEPD, and the VBE soon, those are the 4 certifications required for local programs. The DBE and the ACDBE is required for the federal contracts. VBE, Veteran-Owned Business Enterprise. Veteran means a person who has served in the United States Armed Forces and was discharged or separated under not dishonorable conditions. Applicant must provide a DD-214 and or a DD-215 as supporting evidence. If the vendor does not have their DD-214 and or 215, the applicant should contact the Veterans Administration. Veteran-owned business enterprise means an enterprise which is at least 51% owned by one or more veterans, or in the case of publicly held corporation, at least 51% of all classes of the stock of which is owned by one or more veterans who manage and controls the management, policies, major decisions, and daily business operations, and has been certified by the city as a veteran-owned small local business, certified by Cook County as a veteran business enterprise, certified by the state of Illinois as a qualified service disabled veteran-owned small business, or a qualified veteran-owned small business pursuant to 30 ILCS 500 45-57, or verified and approved by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs as a service disabled veteran-owned small business, or a veteran-owned small business. What are the benefits of certification? Why should you become certified? It provides visibility. Once your firm is certified, it's listed in a directory which is accessible to the general public. There are minority, women, veteran, and disadvantaged business participation goals on City of Chicago projects and sister agencies. There are businesses in the private sector that seek out certified firms for products and/or services. The City of Chicago also has a target market program which provides exclusive bidding to certified minority and women-owned business enterprises. This allows certified businesses to take 100% of the contract because there are no subcontractor goals associated with the project. Do you qualify? The different qualifying groups are as follows: African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, women, veteran, persons with disabilities, and other individuals who can prove social and economic disadvantage. Local business. Local business is a principal place of business and majority of full-time workforce located in the counties of Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, or Will. For ACDBE and DBE, you can be located anywhere in Illinois. The firm must also be 51% owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, woman, veteran, and/or persons with a disability or socially or economically disadvantaged individual. The MWVBE must be an established business. Gross receipts must not exceed $38.11 million, averaged over 3 years for non-construction firms. Construction firms are subject to SBA size standards, averaged over 5 years. For DBE, the firm is not to exceed $23.98 million, or SBA size standards, averaged over 3 years. ACDBE is not to exceed $56.42 million for most firms. Some exceptions do exist. Personal net worth standard. For the MWVBE, the threshold only applies to construction companies, and it's currently at $2.2 million. This is evaluated annually by the City of Chicago. For DBE and ACDBE, the threshold applies to all people seeking certification and is currently $1.32 million. This is adjusted periodically by the U.S. Department of Transportation. The calculation of personal net worth excludes the value of your primary residence and your interest in the certified firm. The application process. The application process currently is electronic and online. Everything should be done online. Paper applications are no longer accepted, with a couple of exceptions we'll talk actually later about. Currently, there's a $250 fee, which you need to mail or drop off in City Hall, room 806. So during the application process, just be sure to submit all of the documentation online. What we need from you. So your contact information, when you enter everything online, just be sure that it's updated, because that is the primary way we're going to be in contact with you, via email, through the system. We'll call you if we're not getting a response. But just make sure that that information is up to date. The type of certification you are seeking. So you'll need to identify which certification you're seeking. MWV, BD, ACDBE, you'll be able to select. And if you're a woman and a minority, you would want to select both of those at the same time. The BEPD is the one for people with disabilities, and that requires a Schedule G form that needs to be, it's an affidavit that needs to be submitted. The VBE requires the DD-214 and the DD-215, which you'll receive from the Veterans Administration. We also need your ownership information, your employee information, the facility information, financial information, applicable licenses to you and or your business. We'll also ask for your experience. So to determine your experience, we ask for resumes, professional associations if they apply, a listing of your equipment, a listing of your leases, copies of your executed leases. We'll also ask for contract information, pending contracts, from the past 2 years, invoices and purchase orders to substantiate that you have been doing those services. And the purpose of all of this is to understand and make a determination that you meet the basic eligibility requirements of the program. What are the types of businesses that qualify? A sole proprietor, that's typically owned by only one person. There's no legal existence apart from that person. They must submit an assumed name certificate if operating in a name other than the owner. Another type of business is the general partnership. 2 or more people go into business together without any formalities. With that, will require a partnership agreement. A limited partnership. The limited partners are more like stakeholders in a corporation. They are not liable for the debts beyond their own contribution. Assumed name certification or certificate of limited partnership would be something you would provide. A corporation. A corporation is treated as an entity completely separate from its shareholders. It allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debts of that business. Is the firm in good standing with the Secretary of State? The firm must be in active status. Other required documents we require are the Articles of Incorporation, the Certificate of Incorporation, bylaws of the corporation, copies of stock certificates, and meeting minutes. Ownership information. For an LLC, partnerships that have a managing member or partner, we would require an operating agreement if you have an LLC. Suppliers. A supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. So in the next few slides, I'll discuss suppliers and distributors. What those requirements are, because for certification there are specific guidelines that apply, and those guidelines can also be found online. Distributors. So firms operating as a distributor are identified as having a direct relationship with a manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specific territory or region. The goods and or products are not available or sold to the general public. Brokers. Firms acting as a broker are not eligible for certification as an MW or VBE. So a person or entity that fills orders by purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than out of its own existing inventory and provides no substantial service other than acting as a conduit between his or her supplier and his or her customer is a broker. So you can't simply you can't simply just be placing orders and having those supplies drop shipped to your customer. That's a broker, and they're not certifiable. After the applications are submitted, so the process can take approximately 60 to 90 days from the day we receive all of the documents. So your application is checked to make sure we have all the documentation. So once you submit your application, it's assigned to a certification officer for review, and that person will look for information that they might still need and send you a request for information. So once that person has all of the information, then we say the clock starts ticking at that point. Those documents are thoroughly audited. You may receive a site visit. So the officer might actually make an appointment with you to do a site visit. So for all the federal, for the ACDBE and the DBE, we're required to do a site visit for all new applications. And for the local programs, it depends. It depends on what business you're in. So we would schedule an appointment depending on that. If approved, your certification is valid for 5 years. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. There is what is called an expedited process, which is it's really not faster. It's an abbreviated process. This is one of the few exceptions for paper applications right now. We're moving to this electronically in the future, but as of now, it is still one of the exceptions. This is if you already have recognition by an outside certification through like the CMSDC, which is the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, or the Women in Business Development Center. So if you already have certification, you can apply for this expedited process. It just basically requires less documentation, but the officers are still going to do their due diligence to ensure that your firm is eligible. Maintaining certification. All vendors must submit an annual no change affidavit. You must notify our division, the Certification and Compliance Division, regarding organizational changes, business name changes, ownership changes, even address changes within 10 business days of the change. We call that a material change. So if something is materially changed in your organization since the last time, you want to notify our department. And all vendors must recertify every 5 years. So every 5 years you're going through the audit again every 5 years. Can we wait till the end of the presentation? Thank you. Expansion of services. What does this mean? This is if your company is expanding and wants to ask for additional codes, you must submit your request on the company letterhead, include added categories from the North American Industry Classification System code, which is we call the NACIS those are your NACES codes. Those are the type of services that you're requesting certification for from our department. You must show us that you're qualified, that your business is qualified to do those expansion services. Again, we'll request licenses, copy of future, present contracts, any needed insurance, current resume to show that you have the experience for these additional codes, services. Sister agencies. These are agencies that accept the city certification for their contracts. So if you are approved, if you get a certification through the city, these agencies also will accept our certification. You won't have to get any other certification. You could read through that. So let's talk about the top 10 reasons why applications are denied. Usually the reasons are that there's unsubstantiated or questionable ownership or control. So we're questioning that the ownership and the control of the company is not the actual minority or woman, whoever is applying. There's an unclear description of critical functions and who is responsible. The company cannot substantiate where the startup funds or expansion came from. Where did the capital come from? Outside secondary employment takes the majority of the MWV, BEPD enterprise's time of day. So if you're saying that you're the owner and the key person of the company, then we would expect that most of your time is focused on that business and that you don't have another full-time job that takes up most of your day. The company is not located in one of the 6 county regions, which we talked about: Cook, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, Will. So your business must be, the majority of your employees must be in that, working in that area. So a little advice that I like to give is during this application process, just be specific, be responsive, and be honest in the information that you give our department, because that will help a lot. Another reason why applications are denied is the point of contact did not respond to a request for information in a timely manner. So like I said, check your emails, because once we send you a request, you have only a certain amount of days to respond before we'll send up a follow-up, and then it's just taking the application process a little bit longer, or we might close the application if you're not responsive. Inconsistencies with the applicant firm's name among various documents. Problems with contracts, missing, incomplete, not signed and executed by qualifying owners, or have no corresponding proof of payments. Required documents are not attached, or no explanation is given as to why the documents are not available. So not everything will apply. So there's a list of mandatory documents that you will need to provide. All firms will need to provide it. Required documents might not apply depending on your type of business. So if it doesn't apply, you need to simply say it does not apply because explain, and that should be sufficient. We'll ask more later if it's not. 3 to 5 years of tax returns were not submitted or signed as required. So we get this a lot. A lot of tax returns are filed electronically. There's no signature. Just simply sign it when you submit it to us and upload it, so we don't ask you for them again. So where to go to help if you have any questions on the application process. We're here located in room 806 in City Hall. You can call us. The number is on here. Press option 1. You'll speak to an officer. Or there's also a consultant at the BACP office in room 800. Her name is Stephanie Edmond Bonner. So if you have issues uploading information online, she'll be able to help you. You can schedule an appointment with her and do that. And your area assist agency, they should also be able to help you. Is there any questions? Well, let's wait for the microphone. I also have another certification officer here, Sonia. So if I can't answer it, she hopefully will be able to.
Just had a quick question on recertification. Is there also a processing period to ensure that you don't have a lapse in your certification? How soon should you put your application in for recertification?
Okay. So the question was, how soon do you need to submit a recertification application? So once you're approved, every 5 years you'll need to do a recertification, and we request that you submit your recertification application, renewal application 60 days before it's due to expire. Okay?
No, I think, can I finish on the recert? I think I can add just one little item. That the 5-year certification, once you've obtained it, does not lapse unless it's removed. So even if your 5-year certification yearly anniversary has, what we're thinking has lapsed, we're beyond that date, your certification is still with the firm, unless in fact something has gone on and you've lost the certification. So we don't want anybody to panic thinking at 5 years and 10 days, I no longer have my certification. It's a 5-year certification, but it goes on until you go through the next process.
So if they don't file for a recertification?
If they don't file for a recertification
like
within...
Is there amount of time if they don't file it that we say?
We normally allow, and this goes through again through the system, where we'll check this out. A report will be run at 60 days past your yearly anniversary date. Let's say your anniversary date is June 1st. And when we say anniversary date and we ask you to submit an application 60 days prior, we're looking for that new or recertification application to come in by April 1st to give us some time to review the documentation, see if anything has changed with the firm. If in fact, now the June 1st date comes in, roughly 60 to 90 days later, a report is run. If that firm has not submitted a recertification application, a notice to remove certification or a notice of ineligibility will go out. At that point, the owner will say, I simply forgot. You're allowed to submit that application, again, within a 30-day window there. Once you've reached out to us, we will take that recertification application. If we don't hear from you, because the business no longer exists, it will just go through the process. The first letter will come out, which we refer to affectionately as a preliminary denial, and then there will be a final removal of that code from that firm.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Yes, I just want to know how many, once you're certified, how many contracts can you qualify for?
Well, it's not about the number of contracts that you would qualify for. Qualifying for contracts is about you being utilized on what it goes out on the street as a bid in terms of being a subcontractor. Does everybody understand how these certifications work and how your MBE, WBE, ultimately the VBE certifications work on a contract? Does anybody need me to give a 100-word or less? Yes. Less than 100 words, all right. Once you're certified as an MW, there is a requirement on the majority of city contracts, but they're not contracts, they are bids that go out on the street. That prime will have to choose an MBE and a WBE. The old percentages, again, but it's specific to the type of contract, can be 25 and 5. 25 for the MBE, 5 for the WBE. In your case, you would qualify for both if you're running the day-to-day operations of your business. So that prime contractor has used you before on another bid, which has gone to award and become a contract. So he may wish to use you again. So you can be on as many contracts ultimately as you can handle providing the service for that, the service or the product for that contract. So when you say how many, there's no way to have an answer. There's no definitive answer to that. It's really how many can you do? How many employees do you do? What is the requirement? Is it a product or a service? So there's no generic answer for that, and if it's specific to your firm, I'd be glad to discuss that with you in more detail after the workshop. Yes, ma'am. If you take this for me. Sure. Thanks.
I've heard that you have to have 2 years of experience as a firm before you can apply. No?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Startups are okay.
Startups
as long
okay?
as you can.
But here it says 3 to 5 years of tax returns. You know, one of the reasons why you would be denied certification is 3 to 5 years of tax returns were not submitted. So the 3 to 5 years of tax returns, that's as a private person?
We do ask for individual tax
Individual.
returns, but if your business hasn't been operating for 3 years, you would just simply explain that in, you know, in a letter saying my
Okay.
firm hasn't. This is not applicable. My firm has not been operating for 3 years.
Okay.
Always think about when you're, I'll go over to her. When you're thinking about it, when you're thinking about documentation to upload with the new application, we're just talking about new applications at the moment, and the requirement for tax returns is there. It's 3 years for non-construction, 5 years for construction. So your firm may not have been in business for 5 years, but you're going to give us 5 years of personal tax returns. It's going to tie into your resume, which will also show us that you've worked in those fields and how you've obtained the expertise to run this type of business. And as Regent stated, where it does not apply to you, because in this case the business has not been around for 5 years, you would provide us with a statement. Every area that requires an upload needs a piece of paper. If it does not apply, the system isn't going to understand that you're a new business and you don't have that. You need to upload a statement. We ask that you upload it on company letterhead, you know, simply state what the request is, state what the proper response is. Firm is only 9 months old. I don't have corporate tax returns. Date it and sign it, scan it, and upload it into that area. Don't leave anything off, because leaving something off will prolong the process, because then the officers such as Regents and myself need to reach out to that applicant and say, you didn't give this to me, why? And then you're going to say, well, you can see it's a new business. Well, yes, we can, but the system requires that information. We can see it from when you're putting into the information as to when the firm was established, but the system needs a document from you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the application fee. Is it $250 per certification? Like if I wanted to go MBE, WBE, is that $500?
No, it's one fee, $250, and the M, W, and VBE will be $250. The people with disabilities and the federal programs are free.
Okay.
There's no fee for those.
Okay, I have another question.
Okay.
Your financial statements, do they need to be audited?
The financial statements,
It depends on
Do
the
they?
size of the firm. I mean, has the firm been in business? Are you using a CPA firm to, are you using a CPA?
That's okay.
Are you using a CPA firm to audit your financials at the end of every year? You're a startup, you're new, you're using your accountant, which obviously could be a CPA, but, or someone may just be assisting you with keeping your finances in line. If there are no statements, if there are no financial statements and the firm is relatively new, no, we don't require them, we request them. But if it's an established business, you know, of a number of years, there is normally a profit and loss statement. So, you know, again, and it's also specific to the business, the type of business, the size of the business. Are you the only employee? Is it new? But again, you're going to, wherever these requirements and requests are in the application, you're going to put in some type of statement. And you're going to explain to us why not. Maybe I choose not to do that. We can't make you do that, but we're going to ask you for it. So please respond to it.
When, under the section, what we need from you, you ask about employee information. Is that management, or is that your entire staff, or?
It's everyone who is an employee, and it will also wind up being anyone who is an independent contractor, because when we ask for that, we're asking for the 1099s or W-2s that were issued by the firm for specific years. And not for 4 years, but for the specific years that the firm has been in business. And always remember, you are an employee of your firm. So, you know, sometimes we'll see an application and it says 0. And we think, well, how can we certify a firm who has no workers? So you're always at least, every firm has at least one employee.
And we're also interested with the employee information to see who's actually doing the work. So do you have your own employees? Are you outsourcing your services? So we would look at that too. That's why we want that information.
If I want to submit my own personal form for business,
When you say submit your, I'm not sure what that is.
what do you call it when you submit for a project that's not in this booklet? Some work that needs to be done in the city?
The only thing you can respond to, it's something that you received, as you came in, you received a DPS alerts card. I'm going to, and Regents would also strongly recommend that you sign up for DPS alerts when you get back to your office. That's going to come out weekly on Monday afternoons. That, signing up for that is going to send you alerts on Monday afternoon that tells you what's going out for bid. Those are the types of things where you could bid if you could handle the entire contract, or you could be utilized as a subcontractor because you are now MBE and or WBE and ultimately BBE certified, which would be some of the requirements on that bid. Again, it's all a bid until it's awarded and it goes to contract. So this young lady is saying, I know there's a need for some service or some product. Can I submit a bid? There's no mechanism set up in the city for you to do that.
Okay. I meant to say proposal.
Well, but still, but you mean to submit a proposal that hasn't gone out for
Right.
bid?
Right.
Well, you would need, there's really no way to do that because who would you be submitting it to?
The city. But it has to be something that's in.
It has to be
bidded.
something that the city is looking to satisfy a need for, something the city is going to be purchasing. Regents mentioned, and I believe Millie mentioned on the onset, the buying guide. That shows you what each of the user departments is looking at purchasing in the next 15 to 18 months. Now, will everything that's in that listing actually be purchased during that time? It's nothing is set in stone, but this gives you something to look look for as the DPS alerts come out. So if it's something you think is going to go out for bid, and that's something that you want to satisfy the requirement of, either as a prime or a sub, then you're able to submit the bid at that time.
For the statements that need to be made on the company letterhead, for the stuff that doesn't apply, should it be on different forms, like different statements, or could all of it be on one statement and then submitted at one time?
I accept it. If it's not applicable because your company has only been in business for 1 year and that's an explanation for several required documents, you can upload the same document.
Upload the same one?
Yeah.
And regarding the 3 years tax returns, if there's 2 years, so do you submit just 1 year of your personal before the 2 years to complete the 3 years, or just submit 3 years of the personal plus the 2 years that the business have?
They're separate requests. So on the request of your personal tax returns, you would upload the 3, and then for the business, you'd upload the 2 that you have and explain why the 3rd is missing. Or for construction companies, we need 5 years.
Thank you.
Just explain away on the onset.
Always, the more information you give us, that lends itself to us not having to do a request for information. That says that you're giving us everything that you humanly can think of to provide us with, so it can be reviewed and processed in a timely manner.
Well, I just wanted to ask, it says here from part subsection 23.25, must include a narrative description. Can you elaborate on the narrative description needed? Or is it more of a personal, or like a generalization of what we do as a company, or how we got started or involved?
Oh, yes. That is, so we're trying to just get like a business overview. What does your business do? How long you've been in the business. Is that the question you're asking?
Yeah,
yes.
like a narrative description.
A narrative, yeah. It's just a brief overview of your company and what the operations are.
And then it said also with, as well as the structure of management, and it said it could be sketched, I believe I read.
Oh, okay. So that we're asking for an organization chart. So if you're the only person, sole proprietor, you can draw a box with your name, president, and that's an organization chart.
And then
That's as simple as it can be.
And then pertaining to the tax statements, we will have, this year will be the 5th year in business. So we have, everything has been submitted as through the business tax returns. So there won't be any personal income tax being brought into the application process.
We still ask
You still
for
have for
personal
So
tax
supply.
returns. We're looking.
You want it, so we have, we'll have 4 years, or we can submit 3 years for the business, and then you also want 2 to 3 years of her personal
yeah.
income.
We'll ask for both
So
personal
we're going
and
to have at least
business.
8 separate forms of tax returns.
Tell me what the business does.
The business is a retail apparels.
Okay.
Um,
And there's a storefront.
It's a storefront, yes.
Okay, and it's a sole proprietorship.
Sole proprietors.
All right, so you're going to provide us with, in this case, it's retail sales.
Right.
You're going to provide us with 3 years of personal and 3 years of corporate.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
it'll be 6 total
Okay,
tax
and of course,
returns,
then
unless.
inventory and everything as
And
well.
you'll see,
Are
as
you-
you start to upload the documents, there's an area that asks for corporate returns, there's an area that asks for personal returns.
And personal returns applies to the owners of the business. So if you're not married, okay, let's say you're not married, you would need to provide your tax returns and you would need to provide your tax returns.
And since we're applying for the DBE, the WBE, and the WMBD, and of course the most important one that we were looking for is the airport concessions.
Oh, okay. So you're applying for all of,
Yeah, so we're going to be doing all 4 of those. But the most important ones that I'm looking for is that for the retail spot, for retail business that she's in, there's space provided for that, but I wanted to know, my question was,
at the airport?
You're
Yeah.
talking about for the ACDBE, right?
ACDB, because that's where we want to make sure that, that we fall into that,
Okay,
because
for
the
the
Department of
ACDBE
Transportation is the one that's
Okay,
requiring.
But that's, having a location at the airport isn't necessarily the top criteria. It's also being able to provide a product or service to an airport concessionaire. So what we're sort of, we've got them kind of jumbled up here.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't frighten anyone. Because the MW is the standalone municipal program. So all the tax returns are going to come into that, all the proof that she's the sole owner, runs the day-to-day operations, buys these, sells them out of a commercial location. Now we've got the DBE, ACDBE. Now this one is the federal program, and this is the one where she is saying she is socially and economically disadvantaged. She's going to, again, upload all the required documentation, which is very similar to the MW. Now, the AC, she's going to need to provide us with a statement on that one that says how she is going to either, A, sell at the airport or provide product for an existing facility that would sell that product at the airport. Now, if you're looking to become a storefront or a concessionaire, then you would reach out to the Department of Aviation, and they would be able to discuss the leasing of space at the airport.
So have you applied for the AC and the DBE? So apply for both of those at the same time?
Putting them all together to send them in, so I think that'd be easier for one officer to be able to look at all of them.
Yes, so we will look at the similar situation.
One after the other.
Yep.
I'm going under LLC.
Okay.
And if I'm going to do like an operating agreement, if it's like
But
my
you're not an LLC.
the business is run under the.
Yes.
It runs under the LLC, the boutique. If we have people that are helping, will I do an operating agreement?
Yes.
Okay, got it. That was my only.
Thank you. Currently, my business is based in Wisconsin, but I want to move to Chicago. And the other certifications, the Chicago Minority Supplier Development, I know they have several locations around the country. And being in Wisconsin, I've started the process of applying in Minneapolis. Would that be sufficient here, or would I have to re-certify with the Chicago version of the organization?
Okay, I guess the first question would have, beyond what does the firm do, would be where is the home base of that business?
Right now, it's in Wisconsin, and it's a consulting business. It's marketing, providing marketing services, advertising, things like that.
So to answer your question with just that information, that your firm does not qualify
No.
for certification as an M or W with the city of Chicago
Correct.
currently?
Currently. But if I move to Chicago, which is in my plans, then do I need the Chicago Minority Supplier of?
No, you're welcome to apply. I mean, if you choose to have that certification, you're welcome, obviously, to do that. But if you're looking for MBE, WBE certification with the city of Chicago, you can come to us directly and submit
Right.
that application
Okay,
online.
okay, all right. But I can apply for a Minority Supplier Development Consul certification now, even though I'm in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Right. And so, but because it's based in Wisconsin, the application is going into the office in Minneapolis. So when I move to Chicago, do I need So what you're saying is that,
To answer your question, I don't know what CMSDC would require you to do to
Okay.
maintain that certification.
Okay, okay.
That's something that's out of my purview
All right,
here
okay.
with the city of Chicago.
all right, fair, okay. Thank you.
So
You're welcome.
the majority of your employees need to be within the 6 counties. Okay.
Yeah, and I-
Your
Yeah, and
headquarters has to be in one of those
Right,
counties, okay.
exactly, yep, yep.
So they're all going to move here?
Yeah, well, right now it's only one.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah, so then you just apply for a new certification.
gotcha, okay. All right, thank you.
If we do not function with contracts, what documents would you accept in lieu of signed contracts?
So
Invoice copies?
yes,
Invoice?
copies of invoices, maybe a purchase order, a proof of payment from the service that you performed.
Okay, one other
company?
question that's not clearly mentioned in here, just curious, is there any restrictions to the owners having some kind of felony?
Felony,
You're
there
not charged.
I
is,
think there is, but it's really a case by case. We don't certify felons.
Okay. Okay, fair enough, just need to know. And who defines disability? Medically, or you give us?
It's again, as Regents mentioned, and it was in the PowerPoint presentation, there's a Schedule G
G,
that's
she
required.
did.
It's
That's
online in the Department of Procurement Services homepage. It's a couple of layers under.
I remember
So if
now.
in fact, so you found it already, you're aware of it, or?
No, I remember she did
Okay.
say
Yeah.
that.
If anybody can't locate, in this case, a Schedule G, you're always welcome to call in. You received this DPS alerts card when you came in. I always say this is sort of your cheat sheet, hang on to it, now that you're interested in certification. You've got the 4900 number at the bottom. If you're a little stumped on something as you're going through the application, call into the 4900, press the number 1, and officers such as Regents or myself will come on the line. We'll be able to assist you at that time while you have the question.
I think you also need to have it signed off on, right, by the
Yes,
mayor's office?
Yes, but we're talking about to find the
To get the
Schedule G.
form?
Yes,
It's an
that would have to
affidavit.
be submitted. First of all, you take the Schedule G application to your physician. They would then complete the form. That form then goes to the Mayor's Office of Persons with Disabilities. They would then review that application, obviously to be utilized for the BEPD status with the City of Chicago. If you meet the criteria from the Mayor's Office of Persons with Disabilities, they then send that up. You'll be notified that you have or have not met the requirements. At that point, you would then submit your and let's just say it's your firm, and it was something that you felt you could utilize also. You would submit all of they would provide us with the documentation. You'd submit the form online. We match them, and then the certification application goes through the processing.
Can you give us some guidance on exactly what are some of the key things you look for in an operating agreement to ensure that the majority owner is really the controlling owner? Is there any areas in that we need to button up?
We're looking for the operating agreement, so we're looking that it's executed properly, that it's the name of the company that's being certified, that the owners are who they say they are, who are applying.
Okay.
There's nothing that we can tell you that's going to make the operating agreement pass or not pass. The operating agreement stands alone. You've created the entity, you have the operating agreement. The operating agreement gives us the information as to who runs the business, who owns the business.
I guess my main question is when you have like very close percentage breakdown, like 49-51, for instance, sometimes your operations are almost split, right? So just trying to get some feedback on, I have an operating agreement already, just making sure that it will, I guess, pass muster. with
Well, we'll be,
this process.
and it isn't the passing mustard, it's really about the other documentation that you are supplying us with.
Right,
Okay.
so we'll even look at stockholder
Yeah.
agreements. How much stock does the 51% owner have compared to the 49%? How much did the 51% owner contribute capital? What are their responsibilities?
Okay,
Okay.
okay, all right, thank you.
Also in the list of what we need from you, it says listing of equipment. I'm an architect, so my business is architecture. So what kind of equipment? I mean, I basically have printers and computers and things like that.
And you can put that down.
Yes.
Okay.
We would ask for,
Just office equipment, things like
Office,
that.
well, you're going to give us a copy of the firm's commercial lease for the space that the business is located in. Obviously, there's going to be equipment so that the business runs effectively. So those are the kinds of things. I mean, that's pretty simple for an architectural firm. On the side of a construction or a plumbing contractor, there is where, when we say give us a list of equipment, that's really what we're looking for, is if you're looking to be construction, plumbing, painting, you know, there are certain items that are required so that you can provide services in the categories, in the NAICS codes that you're asking for.
all right. So for example, a trucking company would ask for the titles and lease agreements for the trucks. But for you, you're in whatever supplies or equipment you use, we would look for.
But as in regard to an architect, we'd also be looking for your current state of Illinois license.
Was software part of that?
Equipment with software, it could be. I mean, again, it's specific to your business. So if software is specific to your business because you're running programs for other firms, you're running their businesses, I'm just throwing this out, then yes, because that level of software becomes part of the equipment you need to provide those services to your clients. Anyone else? I think we're going to wrap it up and say thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. Good luck.